Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostess. I'm Stacy, and Kara, unfortunately, is not with us today. She is on an adventure out west, taking photos for an anime convention she's at, but she should be back next time. So it's just me today, but that's okay, because I am going to be talking about a river monster cryptid. No, not like the fish show on Discovery, but a really scary monster. So our cryptid today comes to us from North Dakota. Our monster was first discovered by the indigenous Madden people, and they ended up naming it the Miniwashitu. Now, it is believed that the Madden people settled along the banks of the Missouri River and its tributaries, including the Heart River, which is just south of the modern-day Bismarck, and that was around 1100 to 1300. By the time fur traders had arrived, though, the Madden and other indigenous people had already turned this stretch of the Missouri River into a hub for trading. So it was already pretty much pumping and thriving by the time the fur traders made it. The river and goods that came along it were important for the survival of the Madden people, and as you can imagine, the winter months were quite brutal for them. The river was frozen solid, they had trouble getting fish and that and feeding their people, find other ways of hunting to get food to help sustain them. Warmer weather, or the thawing of the ice, should have been a welcome sign, but for the Madden people, before the river could flow again, they needed a visit from a mini water monster. And the mini water monster's name is the Miniwashitu, who was a dreadful being. It is said to be covered all over with hair like a buffalo. But it was like in a red color instead of the brown color of a buffalo. It had one eye in its forehead, and it was like right smack in the middle of its forehead. And then right above the eye, there was a single horn that stood out. And on its backbone, it had all these notches and jagged bones sticking out of his backbone that was like an enormous saw. And what the people believed was he would use his saw-like tail to cut up the ice in the river for them. So the Washitu would announce his arrival each spring with a terrific roaring sound. And as it swam up the Mississippi River using its huge body and its backbone with its notched and jagged spikes, it would break up the ice for them. At night, the monster was seen as a red streak as bright as a flame in the water, but if you saw it during the day, it was considered a death sentence by them. Surprisingly, despite its grotesque appearance, the creature is not necessarily a predator. Most stories have it eating only fish, plants, and grass, although it may not truly intend to be threatening. The Miniwashitu is very protective of its territory, and it will attack invaders, meaning it does not actively seek out and attack humans. The creature is so horrific that just looking at it will shatter one's mind and darken your vision, which would make you mad and blind before dying an agonizing death. But some stories claim that if you look at its eyes, it's even worse, and it will freeze you in your spot and make you go crazy. Now, I don't know if I believe all that. Like I said, these are just stories that have been passed around for many, many years. The creature has been seen many times, mostly in the spring, and there's a story that I would like to share with you guys from a famous adventurer who wrote about the story of this creature when he was visiting North Dakota. And here is his story, which he wrote about in 1921 after his experience of hearing the story of the creature. So here's the story. It is said that in the long ago, there was a mysterious being within the stream of the Missouri River. It was seldom seen by human beings and was most dreadful to see. It is said that sometimes it was seen within the water in the middle of the stream, causing a redness shining like the redness of fire as it passed up the stream against the current with a terrific roaring sound. And they say that if this dreadful being was seen by anyone in the daytime, anyone who thus saw it soon after became crazy and continued restless and withering as though in pain until he was relieved by death. And it is said that one time, not a very great many years ago, this frightful being was seen by a man, and he told how it appeared. He said that it was of strange form and covered all over with hair like a buffalo, but red in color. That it had only one eye in the middle of its forehead, and above that a single horn. Its backbone stood out notched and jagged like an enormous saw, and as soon as the man beheld this awful sight, everything became dark to him, he said. He was just able to reach home, but he lost his reason, and soon after that he died. It is said this mysterious Miniwashitu water monster still lives in the Missouri River, and that in springtime, as it moves upstream against the current, it breaks up the ice of river. This water monster was held in awe and dread by people. Now again, this was written in 1921 by a gentleman named Melvin Randolph Gilmore, who was actually the curator for the North Dakota State Historical Society and a cultural anthropologist. Now, there's also other stories that have come through, but most of them were from a very long time ago. So, the creature, the entire Mandarin tribe was decimated by the traders who not only brought goods, but also brought smallpox with them in an outbreak in 1782 and then again in 1837. These outbreaks killed the tribe and their traditions, but the legend of the Miniwashitu still lives on. Remember, if you hear a terrific roar along the Missouri River during the day, make sure to look away because the Miniwashitu is hard at work ushering in spring. That was definitely a very interesting story today out of North Dakota about this creature that can apparently cause you, if you look at it, it can paralyze you and then cause you to go blind and mad. I have another story of a creature, cryptid, from North Dakota called the Taku-He, which is a type of Bigfoot-like creature that was the subject of numerous sightings on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation in the 1970s. The creature's name, which means big man in the Lakota language, gives us a clue as to its appearance. Witnesses describe the Taku-He as standing between 7 and 9 feet tall and covered in shaggy fur, pretty much similar to the cases of Sasquatch and Bigfoot that we've heard about all these years. So the first modern reports of the Taku-He emerged in 1977. There was a film crew that had been scouting around for locations when they found a large humanoid footprint in the area. As word spread, more and more sightings began to pour in from local residents. One of the most craziest accounts came from a man named Lamar Bear Ribs, who claimed to have encountered the Taku-He in the flesh. Now, Bear Ribs described the creature as a big, hairy man, whose very presence was enough to induce a seizure. But Taku-He was more than just a hulking humanoid. Some stories say that the creature had supernatural powers, claiming that it can cause insanity or even death with a mere glance of it, which is pretty similar to our friend the Miniwashitu, which we just talked about. So as the sightings continued throughout the September of 1977, reports of mutilated livestock and even UFO activity in the area added to the hysteria around the sighting of this Bigfoot-type creature. Now, as some of you may or may not know, whenever there is a sighting of Bigfoot, there's always high strangeness that happens or occurs in the area of where he's been spotted. A lot of times, UFO activity goes hand in hand with Bigfoot. It's worth noting, though, that the Taku-He occurred during a time when Bigfoot mania was sweeping the nation. If you remember, that was when we saw the first picture in a newspaper of the Bigfoot footprint, and the Patterson Gimlin film came out, which showed like a female Sasquatch walking through the forest in California, had been released. And the idea of these humanoids, ape-like creatures lurking in the wilderness had captured the imagination of people. So it's probably not surprising that this reservation in North Dakota would suddenly become the episode for the Bigfoot legend. But there are also elements of the story that make it a little different than your typical Sasquatch sightings or your Bigfoot sightings. The creature, like they said, had supernatural abilities, which is more different than the other cases that we have heard, and the speculation of how, Bigfoot is supposed to act. Some people claim that he bared a closer resemblance to the Wendigo, or because of it being able to, the Wendigo is a cannibalistic spirit that possesses the humans and then transforms them into monsters, which is different than Bigfoot, which is considered a reclusive and non-threatening cryptid. So the reports of the livestock mutilations and the UFO activity that was associated with the Taku-He are intriguing, and it's a little different. Now, cattle mutilations have long been a staple of paranormal lore, as we all know, and it's all always attributed to some type of extraterrestrial experimentation, or some people think it's the government doing that. The idea, though, that a Bigfoot-like creature might be connected to these grisly incidences adds a whole new dimension to this, to the Bigfoot story and all those kinds of things. Let's see what else. So, as with any cryptid, the Taku-He sightings eventually faded away, and it left behind more questions than it did answers. We don't know if there was really a genuine humanoid type Bigfoot creature in the forest of Fort Berthold Reservation in the 1970s. Could it have been a spiritual or a supernatural entity, or maybe, some kind of earth spirit? We just don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of crazy and different than some of the other cases that we've talked about of Bigfoot and Sasquatch and all that. So it's something to think about. Would these creatures be able to do some kind of mind experimentation on us, or to make us do things, control our mind and make us do things we might not want to do? I don't know. There's crazy stuff going on in North Dakota. So keep your eyes open if you're going out that way for vacation. Also, email us or text us or message us on Instagram if you have any stories from a trip to North Dakota you might have taken, and if you saw any crazy creatures or any strange phenomena or any paranormal activity happen to you while you were out there. We'd love to hear from you. I think that's all I have for you guys today. Just keep your eyes to the sky and pay attention when you're in the forest. Remember, if you hear any weird sounds or somebody calling your name, do not answer. Get out of there as fast as you can. Always be aware of your surroundings, but that's the same thing anywhere you are, really. But when you're in the woods alone exploring at night, you should really keep your eyes peeled for what's going on around you and what's happening. I think that's all I have for you guys today. So with that, I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day weekend. I know Memorial Day is coming up this coming weekend on Monday. Thank you to anybody that has lost a friend, family member in one of the wars. We thank you for your service to our country. Also, if you would like to reach out to us, if you have a story that you would like us to share with everybody, please leave a message, leave a review, because that really helps our show get discovered. And tune in 2 weeks for another exciting episode of the Two Scaredy Cats podcast. And remember, curiosity didn't kill these two scaredy cats.